How do you show up for other people? Maybe instead of leading, you are overfunctioning, caring too much, stepping in too quickly, trying to prevent failure for your kids, for your teams, for everyone around you. I'm guessing that you are. And do you even realize that that actually is what is holding people back? In today's episode, I'm joined by Erin Treacy, a leadership and business coach, and we dive into the parallels between parenting and leadership, why growth requires us to step back, not step in. We talk about what it really means to lead, how to create trust and autonomy, and why sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let someone fall. Welcome to Mindset Medicine with Dr. Tanya Berfield, where science meets soul, burnout meets boundaries, and high-achieving women finally stop performing and start healing. I am a resilience and transformation expert, nervous system strategist, and recovering overfunctioner just like you. This podcast is your sanctuary for breaking cycles, rewriting stories, and reclaiming your energy, your peace, and your power. Each week, we blend neuroscience, somatic practices, and spiritual truth to help you unlearn the noise and remember who you really are. You're not broken. You're breaking free. And this is your medicine. Thanks for joining us on Mindset Medicine. I have a special guest with us tonight. So this is Erin Treacy, and she is a leadership and business coach joining us from West Virginia. So hi, Erin. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. It's so great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
No, I thank you so much. I love getting together and being able to have some really good conversations with folks that the
Same.
listeners can go, wait, I see myself in that.
Exactly. Same. Absolutely. So why don't we just start super easy? Just tell us who you are. We realize where you're at, which is
Mhm.
not too awful far from me. And just tell us what you do and sort of what led you to this.
So I'm a leadership and business coach. And when we talk about those, middle managers, moms especially carrying a lot in those leadership roles at home and
Mm-hmm.
at work, those first time managers who maybe are not super attuned to seeing where they are, but also helping business leaders kind of see where they can work with their people and really approach things with a people first mindset of how do we grow our people, because growing people grows business. Um,
Mm.
because at the end of the day, no matter what we're selling or what we're doing or the type of work we're in, people have to buy, whether that's
Mhm.
the salesperson at the other place or the consumer in a restaurant or in a Walmart or wherever you are. A consumer has to buy it. So it's those interpersonal people relationships that really make such a
Mhm.
huge difference and can make a difference in the places that we work.
Awesome. So you're doing that through coaching. You're meeting with
Yeah.
people one on
So I
one.
do one-on-one coaching and like business coaching. I do it in groups. I do it one-on-one.
Mm.
Then I
Mm-hmm.
often will carry a couple of um, sessions that I'll do on Facebook or set up some lives so that people can sit in on sessions where I kind of see, hey, I've had 15 different conversations on this exact same topic.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should do a little
It's
workshop and
time.
just have some fun. Like maybe more than one person could hear this at the same time.
Yep.
So
I find that too in my work that things
you do
come in themes, like,
they
it starts to like, it all comes out at the same time, it seems like.
Yeah, so I'll put
Yeah.
together those workshops, and I do a lot of those for free, just so
Mhm.
that people can see them and have an opportunity to grow, and then be able to kind of work with folks in the long run too, as they figure out what they're doing, where they're going, and
Mhm.
how they wanna get there.
Mhm. Fantastic. So tell us more about you. What led you to this work? What's your background?
So I was born and raised here in West Virginia, born and raised in a family business, a multi-generational family business. My
Mm.
grandfather grew up in the coal fields
Mhm.
and very young and very early went, this is not a life I want to live. So he got a degree in engineering and came back and started a family business in the coal industry, but working on all of the equipment that was from underground. So really relied on his own knowledge, but family knowledge, and got them all out of the mines and working on these pieces of equipment. And they really understood how to use them. They understood how a miner underground in this teeny tiny spot needed to be
Mhm.
able to use a cylinder and a hydraulic and a shield. And I know all of those things. I have put them together on my own 2 little hands, and they were little hands the
Yep.
first time I ever put them together. So
Mhm.
grew up in that. The dining room table was a boardroom. It wasn't
Mhm.
those weren't 2 separate places. If granddad was at our house for dinner, you knew what the conversation it was how's school, what's happening, what was practice, and then
Mhm.
you heard all the things about business. So it was things that you now as an adult realize looking back, I absorbed so much knowledge
Mhm.
about leadership
Mhm.
from them without ever really knowing, which
Mhm.
also is something I talk about a lot too, is what we do and how we behave and how we show up for people in our world are what they're going to learn and take from us. So it
Mhm.
is important how we carry ourselves. It is important what words that we're using. It is important because that's how they're going to turn around and treat another coworker. It's how they're gonna turn around and treat a customer. It's how they're gonna
Mhm.
treat a client. And so by doing those things, they start to see and be able to make those reasonable, logical choices that you want them to have, your reasonable, logical choices that you want them to have. And so that's kind of my background and years of working in television, nonprofit work, and kind of weaving my way through adult life. Went back into the family business, only we did restaurants for a while, so owned
Mm.
multiple locations across a
Mhm.
couple of states, and also worked with franchisees of the brand that we were with to help train those franchisees and their store managers and really how to coach and train their people in a way that
Mhm.
they wanted to see come out. So years of doing that really went, you know what? I'm a coach. I'm a former athlete, so I have that mindset and
Mhm.
didn't really think of, people in business and in life and in all of these different aspects. It does make sense to
Mhm.
have that outside looking in that can be constructive in their feedback to help you move forward. And that's what
Mhm.
I love so much, just watching those moments where people come back and we're like, in the next follow up session, you're like, Erin, I totally saw like that example you had from this. And I saw it in one of my own people. So I was able to use that little trick you gave me and it worked. And like just the shock and awe, like a kid that Christmas morning, they're like, and it worked.
Yep.
And you
Yep.
just love that so much. And so that makes me so happy that I can help folks in that journey.
I love that. I also leadership is one of my I don't know, I'm super drawn to just the concepts around
Mhm.
leadership and what that means in terms of how you grow people, right? Because I
Mhm.
think that for me that's what it's all about. And also being affiliated with a college that's we're growing them. Like let's teach them to be
Let's
people
show
and to
them.
be successful. Exactly. Like it's not about punitive and discipline. It's about how do we get through this and learn to do different or better. But I also think, and I learned this very early on because one of my first true leadership experiences was when my kids were really young. And I was very quickly like, oh my gosh, the parallels between parenting, even my elementary school kids, and then my first was in the IT world was in
Mhm.
leadership and it was like tech support, 20-year-old guys who I don't know what they do, but I have to figure out how to motivate them and keep them in line and appropriate. And so the parallels between being a parent and
Mhm.
being a manager or a leader, I was just astounded by. And then I quickly became fascinated with watching how other people led and then realizing the parallels with how they then treated their children. And so like,
Yes.
are you a dictator or are you a servant or are you like how do you handle what you're doing in life versus what you're doing like with your personal life and then
Mhm.
your professional life. And so often when I'm talking about leadership with people and the people that I work with, I'm talking about both, right? Because you said it, you are leading both areas, especially
Yes.
if you are a mom, you are trying to figure out how to hold it all together for everyone all the time
All the
in
time.
both worlds and you have to figure out how to manage that. So do you agree with that? Do you disagree with
Like,
that?
did you s there are thousands of notes going, "Yes,
Yes, yes,
yes,
yes, yes, yes.
yes." Like, if there was a way to hit a button from here that's, like, sending up all the little emojis of heart, heart, love, 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 thumbs up, yes, all the things. And what's so fun too is when you're working with folks and you can make those bridges for them because we understand leadership
Mhm.
as a mom. Like, I'm supposed to
Right.
teach Sally how to walk. Well, teaching Sally at work, there is an equivalent of
Mhm.
walk. Now, you probably don't need to use the baby voice that you
Right,
would
and you probably
use with
shouldn't.
Sally while she's trying to walk. Like, don't do that. But there is that parallel.
Uh-huh.
Sally has to fall.
Yep.
Right? Like, there isn't the perfect way to teach Sally to walk or ride a bike, or
Mhm.
I'll use a ski reference since we're,
Yep.
the mountain people. Like, you have to fall to learn to
Mhm.
ski. You have to fall to learn to ride a bike. There's nobody who did it perfect the first time they got
Mhm.
on or the first time they stood up. They took the step and they were perfect. It never was a problem. And it's the same thing at work. You lead in that same way, and you need to let the people around you fall, and you need to encourage them to get back up. You don't get them up. You
Mhm.
encourage them how to get up. You show them how to get up. You
Mhm.
demonstrate it. You walk through it with them. You don't say you'll figure it out
Yes.
and walk off.
Yep.
And they are so the same, and, I have older kids now. I know we kinda talked about
Yep.
our older
Yep.
bunch, and it's sometimes even funnier now, the things that I learned from them. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta write this down so I can go and tell a client," because
Yep.
that's such a good parallel because we understand leadership at home. It's that, well, you are the parent, and that is what I'm
Mhm.
supposed to
Mhm.
whatever. And so it's really fun sometimes. And then to be able to have some of their mentality and go, okay, well, let's think about it from an employee perspective.
Mhm.
Okay, let's call the employee your kid. And this is one of the things one of my grown children did the other
Mhm.
day. And then they're like, oh. I said, so I'm guessing their mindset is probably your employee's mindset. There's
Yep.
something, and it is something that makes it a lot easier and breaks it down so much better. And
Mhm.
again, I think as you learn with older kids, you stop doing those lessons with the baby voice and start doing them more in your leader voice, not in your mom
Mhm.
voice. Like
Mhm.
I sometimes I have to catch myself. I'm not being critical. I'm asking you the questions that life is going to ask you.
Mhm.
You get to decide the answer. And you just make those pushes, and it's that same thing as the leader in an organization.
Mhm.
I'm not saying you have to. I'm asking you what your approach is so that you can get there.
Yes, and isn't too the there's so many ways to go with this, but isn't it interesting too? So women especially, this is one of the things we talk about in this area is we carry the burden of so much. And I think that we often as women in leadership positions in the workplace do the same thing. We carry that load with us over there, and therefore we are responsible for everything. I'm struggling with this in one of my realms right now with somebody else. Like there's so much fear associated with failure for both our children and our employees, or what that's going to look like for us if either one of those people fall down. And so how do we help them understand that it's the right thing to do, right? Like it's let them fall down so
Let
that
them
they build
fall.
some resiliency, right?
Mhm.
Especially for the children. They have to build some resiliency. We are seeing
Yeah.
that like this generation of incoming employees has no coping skills. And
They don't have those coping skills, but it's also because we taught them they don't have to have them.
right,
Some of my
right.
favorite my son-in-law is a teacher, so I hear some things from him. I hear some interesting things from him.
I
But
bet.
I also follow a lot of teachers on
Mhm,
TikTok and social media because there's the funniest things and, like, emails
mhm.
I have gotten from parents, and you're just going,
Yes, yes.
"Ugh."
I've gotten them,
I
yes.
yeah, I mean, I can oh my gosh, you probably have the best stories, and I tell friends all the time, like, their kids are getting ready to go to college. I'm like, "So get in your school's college Facebook
Mhm,
group." There's all every school has it for
mhm,
every parent. I said, "Sometimes just reading that is,
mhm. It's an eye opener.
hysterically funny because you just go you wanna do you're setting up play dates for your college children. I heard in
Yeah.
an orientation
Mhm.
with one of our kids one day, they wanted to know, who do they send the permission slip to for their kid to come home for the weekend? Who are the dorms do they mail that to? And I
Yeah.
was just sitting there
Your
like,
kid your kid's leaving that dorm every weekend.
"Be be serious." Like,
Yeah.
mom really wanted to know
Mhm,
who to send a permission slip to
mhm.
come home, and wanted to know what time curfew was so they can
Oh
make sure their
my.
child abided by it. I'm going, "Oh." We have to let our
Uh-huh.
kids fail. If they go
Mhm.
into life thinking everything is perfect, also thinking that if I struggle even a little bit, if this is hard, if I feel like the person doesn't like me, my boss didn't compliment my outfit, therefore my boss doesn't
Mm.
like me, therefore I need a whole new job. And then they up and
Mhm.
quit for these tangential things
Mhm.
as a grown up that they really should have learned at 5. I
Mhm.
mean, that saying is true. Everything you needed to know, you really should have learned in kindergarten. And
Mhm.
what we learned in kindergarten was you're supposed to fail sometimes. Your letters aren't always going to be perfect. You color outside the lines. All
Mhm.
of those things are needed and fabulous and great
Yep.
and wonderful. And so we need to prepare our people to be able to do that. And by our people, that's our kids as
Mhm.
moms, but it's also the people that are in our world. Now, I don't like and I think this was a lesson I would often refer to my employees inside my restaurant, especially. These are my kids, especially because they were the same age as my children,
Right,
and my
right.
children work there. So we again were a
Yep.
multi-generational business by
Mhm.
adding my kids into the mix. So I would make the mistake, "Okay, kids, let's," and then I was like, "But these aren't my kids."
Right.
Right? They are not my family. They are not
Mhm.
people I have any right to say anything beyond, "Why are
Mhm.
you late for work?" and "Why is your performance of work not whatever?" Now,
Mhm.
I tell myself that now, but we do have to a certain extent, teach them in the very same way. We have to let
Mhm.
them fall. We have to say, "Well, how do you want to approach this? You know, you've been here for a while and you've seen a lot of different avenues. Why don't you take run with this and show me what you can do?"
Mhm.
Right? My kids were required to do their own laundry at 12, mostly because at the
Same.
time I was a single
Mhm.
mom and that was something I could take off my
Yep.
list. But you know who wasn't responsible for soccer uniforms on game day?
Mhm. Same.
They
Yep.
had to learn the lesson. I guess you're
Mhm.
wearing a very stinky shirt today.
Yep, that's the way it goes. And that doesn't like not to say that if they're like cuz we all go through like cycles of life, right? If they're in a super busy swing, I might help them out here and there,
Absolutely.
but they need to know those things because I refuse to be the mom that sent their kids off and they could not do any of the things. My brother and I growing up, we both had one night a week that we had to make dinner for the whole family. We both had to do our own laundry. My brother was a fanatic about the wrinkles in his clothes, and my mom was like, "Fine, iron them yourself. Like, here it is. Like, there's the iron. I'm not doing that for you." We were very much a non-traditional family in that way. So we did very much the same thing.
It reminds me of a story, and I tell this one a
Mhm.
lot to use as an example in this way that I think bridges us some too. So, my husband does a lot of the laundry in our well, he does all of our laundry.
Wow.
So, I make the joke, he is a lefty and he is not as precise in folding,
Mhm.
and all of my shirts are folded backwards because he folds
Right.
I don't even know how
Yep.
to do it because I'm not a lefty.
Yep.
But so to me, they're all backwards. The
Yep.
fold is on the wrong side of all of the shirts in my world. And so one day I said something and it was said, "I appreciate that you do the laundry, but you're doing it wrong." And he looked me straight in the face and he said, "So here's your choices. You
Uh-huh.
can shut
Uh-huh.
up." Essentially, he
Uh-huh.
didn't say shut up,
No,
but
yeah,
you can
I hear
shut
you.
up or you can keep complaining and you can do your own laundry,
Yep.
or you can say thank you and I'll keep doing your
Mhm.
laundry. And I sat there and you think
Mhm.
about that and it's that fall. Is
Mhm.
it exactly the way I would do it? No. In
Yes.
this moment, do I care? Because I still don't have to do it or I can complain about it. I'm
Mhm.
gonna go with he can keep doing the laundry and I'm gonna shut up, right? Like
Uh-huh.
that's and appreciate
Yes.
someone took that off my plate and
Yep.
not pick at it as it's wrong and this is right and this is how I would do it because it's how you would do it doesn't make it right or wrong. It just makes it how you would do it. And we have to
Yes.
learn that as
Yes.
leaders too. Like that's part of walking those steps and
Mhm.
letting your kids grow up. Your kid may not come up with the solution of a math problem the same way
Mhm.
you come up with the solution of the math problem. Can they get there? Great.
Mhm.
Same step, folding the laundry. Then we get to going to college. How do
Mhm.
they organize their schedule for the week. They have to figure out what works for them. As long as the
Yes.
grades come out not failing,
Yes.
I don't
Exactly.
care. Now let's move
Exactly.
to to
Yep.
those employees, and each of those steps has that same, you
Yes,
gotta
that's
figure it
such a
out.
good you're right, that's such a good bridge because from both the parent and the leader like, professional perspective, I realized 2 things early on. One is that well, it was one thing, but how to apply it to both worlds. I realized early on that if I told someone what to do, I got the outcome that I was asking for. It probably wasn't as good as if I had
And
brought them
only the
into
outcome.
yes.
It
So
was
there's
for the
not the
benefit.
buy-in, right? Like, there might not be the buy-in, so it's not delivered as well as it could be. But if I brought them into the conversation looking for the solution, then there's buy-in. And also, it's not just my lens, right? Like I can get so much better and it can be the product and the outcome can be so much better. But it reminds me in a parenting situation when COVID first hit, all three of our boys were still at home. Two were in college and one was in high school. And I was like, oh my, this is a lot. So there are five of us in this house. We're all trying to share the same internet and like everybody had their own computers, but we like the time and the space, like it was a lot. And I realized very quickly this was not working for us and they were being disgusting and a mess and not cleaning up after themselves and staying up at all hours of the night because their schedules were off. And so I immediately like family meeting, and this is a thing I do in my house, family meeting, sit down, here's the problem, what is our resolution? I need you to help me figure out, like, I'm not asking you six times to do this one thing when it's cleaning up a dish or picking up your laundry or whatever it is. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to start charging you money? Because they're all very money oriented. Do you want me to start charging you money? Is that the thing that's going to fix this for us? And they were all like, no, because we're not giving up our money. This is what you'll do. And they came up with this. It was, you tell us one time, and if we don't do it within the time frame that you gave us, you send us a picture and say you didn't do this thing and attach another chore to it. And I was
Whoa.
like, "Oh my gosh, you're cleaning my registers, the ceiling fans." Like, we had all kinds of stuff, and they did it because
Yeah.
it was their punishment or discipline or whatever that was, and so
Well,
they
or their way
did it.
just to help around the house. They don't get
Right.
to live completely. I mean, it's
Right,
free,
we're
but
not
it's
doing
not.
that.
There's
I'm not doing
there's
it.
responsibility. Yeah, stuff still
Right.
needs done.
Yes, and so I found, like, the same sort of thing with my staff, right? Like, "Here's the problem, guys. How are we gonna resolve this?" And also if I say to them, "Here's the challenge," or "I challenge you to think about this." They love when I say that, and I
Mhm.
didn't realize I was saying that until they pointed it out to me. Like, "We love it when you give us a challenge. We get to solve that for you." "Great. Well, here's the challenge. How are we gonna fix that?" And then like I said, it just creates a buy-in, and so they're now invested in the
Mhm.
solution. So that like,
I love
cool,
that.
let's do
That's
that.
a
Me
good one.
too.
Yeah, I
Me
love that.
too.
But it was such a problem solve, but they
Mhm.
came up with it
Right,
and took
right.
the stress off of you. So, and
Yes.
and I think you could make that, like you said, they were in high school, college, but I mean,
Mhm,
you could ask that of a middle schooler at,
mhm.
at certain levels of elementary
Sure.
school, depending, kid by kid,
Yeah.
it's very different, but find those
Mhm.
things that challenge them or make it fun or, you know,
Yeah, for
but the
sure.
same thing with an employee,
Uh-huh.
handing off that thing. I actually just recently did a blog about this, and a friend of mine sent me a response. She's like, I love that line that's hand it to them and say, I want you to take responsibility for this and show me, how often, check in with me how you're doing. And it
Mhm,
it lets them really feel creative, which
mhm.
is gonna bring back so much more, and it feels trust, so, like, they felt your trust
Yes.
in that mom trusts us to do
Yep. And
whatever the thing is,
autonomy, right? They don't
and
wanna just check
autonomy.
boxes all of the time.
Yeah,
They want to have the trust and the autonomy to be able to know that we are
yeah,
counting on them and that they have a responsibility.
yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. It reminds me a little bit of a story. Because my youngest son is a skier, and when he was younger, his anxiety was through the roof, and we struggled to try to get him integrated into the world because his stress level was so high about every little thing. And when I think he was 14 or 15, he wanted to be a ski instructor. well, it's an hour drive to the slopes, but I was like,
Oh,
this is an experience this child needs. So we are going to do this for him. So we drove him up every day. And it wasn't like the first couple of times, it was so stressful because his anxiety was so high that he was not handling himself very well. And he came home after 2 or 3 days of working and he was like, I don't think my boss likes me. I was like, "Well, tell me about that. Like, give me some more information." And he explained a little bit, and I said, "Okay, here's what I think. You are not speaking for yourself, right? You want your mom to call and ask questions and to find the
100%.
information and provide it for you. I'm happy to do that for you. But what do you think
Oh,
your boss thinks about that?" I'm not happy to do that, but I'm trying to get this kid moving, right? And so I was like, "What do you think your boss thinks about that?" And he went, "Oh gosh." I was like, "Yeah. Uh-huh. He thinks you're mama's boy and that I'm controlling you and that you can't move without me. And that's not good for any of us. So how
mm-mm.
about you try it?" And it flipped a switch for him. All he had to do was understand that other perspective and it changed everything
Yeah.
to the point that he was getting like really positive reviews and free lunches off of the reviews that he was getting because they did some really cool positive motivations for their employees. And that changed his whole life. Like that experience changed his whole life. Now I'm still like, he's 20 now, and I'm still like, oh, look at you talking like an adult. He's in the army, like he's handling life just fine. But I'm like, look
He's
at you
handling
being an
life.
adult.
Yeah.
He's
We'll have
got
to
it
talk about
now.
that whole
Yeah.
ski experience. I was a ski
Yeah.
instructor too. That was my first job
Ah,
that was not in the
that was
family
his.
business. Although I
Yeah.
guess it sort of was, the ski school director was my coach. So it
Mm-hmm.
sort of was in the family business, I
There
guess.
was a comfortability there, but still.
Made
I mean, that
made
was
it a little
the
easier
that
being one of the
yeah.
few girls on staff.
I'm sure. That whole thing was just an experience. Like they had a job fair and we drove up and I was like, "I'll wait in the car." And he's like, "No, no, you have to come in." And I was like, "Trey, that's not how this works." And so I was like, "I'll come in, but I'll stand off to the side. Like, I don't need to be a part of this conversation." And the woman, and it was a family business too. And the woman that was like greeting everybody said, "Hi, how can I help you?" And he went, "Job." And you could see her react because he's like 14. You can see her react. And I am at the side, like cracking up laughing. And she saw me and was like, okay, I got this. And then she worked him through the process. But she's like, this poor child was so awkward and so not
Oh,
capable. But I mean, it was the same thing, right? Like you just got to continue to grow them and give them the
mhm,
experiences. It's the same thing with your employees. They need the
absolutely.
experience in order to grow. I'm always thinking about my succession plan. Like, if this person leaves or if I
Yeah.
leave, what's next? Who's coming? How are we growing? These people have to be prepared to handle things if somebody has to step out for,
Mhm.
a day, a week, a month, forever. Like what happens?
Well, and I think too, just understanding the other person's job. Like in our restaurant, we were a 50 style diner.
Mhm.
Once a month, we would do a swap day, and the employees
Oh,
loved doing it.
I
Loved
bet.
it. Loved it. We had regulars that were like, "What day is swap day?" We would post on social media, "This coming Wednesday is swap day," because they knew the cooks, and it was an open cook line. So, like, they knew the cooks, but,
Mhm.
not nearly as well as
Yep.
the waitstaff. And we would switch, and all of the cooks would be on the floor, like, fiddling,
Oh
trying to write
my
orders,
word.
and all of the waitstaff would be, back on the cook line. And it was great for me because it let both sides get cross-trained. So when you're in
Yes.
a snowstorm and only 2
Mhm.
people can get there and people are out of power, so you wanna be opened and have a space for them. I
Mhm.
may only have cooks, but now they all know how to use the tablets so that they can put an order in. And
Right.
then you also started to understand, well, now I understand why the cooks get
Mhm.
frustrated when I don't put an order in a certain kind of way. When the
Right.
information isn't there, they understand the backup and how that affects all of the rest of the orders. Then
Yes.
you switch that. The cooks start to understand guests are talking so fast that sometimes they don't mean to not put it
Mhm.
in the right order. It's just that they're going as fast as, and so you
Mhm.
start to understand each other's jobs and what those
Yes.
different roles are and go, I so appreciate the job that I have. So I'm really
Yes.
excited tomorrow to go back over to, my side or my
Yeah.
team or whatever. But it also, in a lot of places, they went, I really like doing that. Can I get a couple of those shifts every week?
Mhm.
On both
Yeah.
sides. And you go, absolutely, you can. And we had folks
Yes.
who thought they were waitresses who are like, I love being back there and doing the cook. So if it's like prep stuff, I'll come in and do that before a wait shift. And a lot of that, you start to see where people can grow because you showed them
Yes.
different aspects to do it. So by
So
understanding.
That's fascinating, and I love that for so many reasons, but it also brings me back to something that you said earlier that I wanted to touch on, because what that does is creates efficiency, right? And it
Mhm.
does it by building relationship, because now I have a perspective that I didn't have before, and that allows us to not be judgmental and always like stuck in this box of this is how everything has to operate. And so it allows us to have a little bit more flexibility and leeway, understanding, but it builds relationship. And you talked earlier about leadership is all about relationships. And I also will put sort of in parentheses customer service, because
Yeah,
everything in our lives,
it's
everywhere, it might not be called customer service, but it sure as shit is. Like it's all customer
yeah,
service.
it there has for there to be anything of business, there isn't a
Hmm.
business that doesn't have a customer, like, that's
Hmm.
I mean, I just how do you business without a customer?
Yes.
So, however
Yep.
that is and however it comes out,
Hmm.
but we would always get incredible compliments. You have the best team. They all help each other. And and the cook is walking the food out to the table because they saw the waitress was busy. They
Hmm.
know their table numbers because they can see those things. Or you would have a cook that would kind of lean over and could notice that a table maybe was getting antsy, but they know that their waitress is making 17 milkshakes on the other side of the room. So they go
Hmm.
over and could help because, they can see things. They're at different perspectives. And the other side is also true. It gives you such buy-in, and customers would notice. They
Hmm.
constantly, "We come here because all of you all like each other." And I would sit there and
Yes.
laugh and go, "We do not. We do not all like
Well,
each
you
other.
have
We
no idea.
all have our thing." But everybody is working towards
Hmm.
the same thing. And because we understand where everybody is coming from, it's much I don't have to love you
Hmm.
to you be my neighbor and you be on my team and us move forward and get where we need to go. And I think that's such a
Hmm.
good lesson for that. Is those the customer feels it. We would get it
Mm.
all the time, like all the time. And this is
Mhm.
one of the nice parts. That may be one of the things I don't miss a lot about restaurant life.
Restaurant work is not it's not
I
an
do
easy
not
life.
miss much of it, but that may be one of the things that I
Uh-huh.
miss how much the guest appreciated our people. Not
Mhm.
me, not but
Mhm.
the people in our
Yep.
business,
Yep.
because that's who made us a business.
Yeah, for sure. I also I like the parallel here to our personal lives too, because again, as women, we assume responsibility for anything and everything. And I think that my challenge here is swap those things up a little bit.
Mhm.
If you are the laundry doer, have your partner or your kids do the laundry and vice versa. Whether it's cooking or dish doing or paying the bills or running errands or, whatever the responsibilities are, switch those up on occasion
Yeah.
so that we can see the perspective of everyone around us. Like for me, I hate grocery shopping. It is a thing that I loathe and refuse to do. And so typically I order our groceries and my husband picks them up. Like that's because I'm also controlling and perfectionist, and he cannot be
He
controlled in a grocery
he
store.
should
Yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either.
it's a
I
bad
started to
idea.
say, "No, no,
Mhm.
maybe you should," and like,
No, there's no budget for him to hit the grocery store by himself, and so we have to do this in a way that works for us. And then over the weekend, I was in the same grocery store 3 times in one day for my grandmother, and so when the employees start saying to me, "Ooh, you've been here a lot," I'm like, "Yeah, my life's in the toilet." So we have to figure out how to do that a little bit better, and so my husband, who is so amazing with my grandmother, he's been taking her to the grocery store,
"Oh,
either we'll all go and then he entertains her because it's just the most ridiculous, funny thing to watch the two of them navigate each other, or he'll at least try to figure out how to make it a little bit easier for me. So I think that if we can figure out how to create some swaps and things that instead of feeling like contentious or like we're pushing against one another, how do we sort of bridge that or bring it together in a way that is supportive and
mhm,
not blaming? Because I think we do a lot of
we
blaming
do."
of one another.
It is definitely fast sit in your seat, I'm gonna start to appreciate. People thought I
What?
was I explained how to read a P&L.
Mhm.
Everybody's like, why
Mhm.
can't we have a raise?" Okay, great. Let's learn
Mhm.
why we can't have a raise. And so we sat
Yep.
and went through a P&L and said, okay, somebody show me where raises are in this. And once they
Yep.
saw it, it was, oh, but we make this much
Yeah.
money. I had one kid raise, it was like, so how much profit, everything we sell, a burger's $6 or whatever it was. How much of that $6 do you all think is profit? And they're like, 100%.
Huh. It's good lesson, yeah.
Good lesson. Teach your
Yep.
kids. I mean,
Mhm.
a house budget and a P&L, the exact same thing. Then that
Yep.
also then teaches them how to do rent when they get to college,
Mhm.
how to make sure those things are done. But it was so funny because people thought I was nuts. And I said, but you know what? When I start having a fit that you spilled a whole thing of burger all over the floor, and that's such a, they know how much money that burger on the floor costs
Right.
and why they need to
Right.
pay attention and why it's important we need to not do those things
Yes.
because they now are making that same equivalency to that's my paycheck. That's my
Mhm.
raise I can't have
Mhm.
at this next
Yeah.
thing.
They have
That
a sense of responsibility
mhm.
now.
Yeah, even
Love
if you
that.
made it about that, like,
Yeah.
the raise you want, you just spilled all over the floor because you thought it
Too
was
bad
real
for you.
fun. That's where it went. I mean,
Yeah.
let's, lean
Yeah.
into, a 15, 16, 17-year-old is
Mhm.
supposed to be very self. I get that. But
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds have those moments too. But, if I
Mhm.
tie in the reason you didn't get a bonus check this week is because you decided to play football, hockey in the back with the food and it knocked over a whole shelf.
There's a problem.
I
Yep.
don't really have to explain much more than that's where your bonus this week went. Oh, maybe you
Yep.
won't do that next week and then you'll get one.
I love that positive motivation, reinforcement. Are there any other, like, themes? Because we talked about this earlier, where we're often seeing things in themes. Do you have anything current that's recurring that you're seeing just over and over again?
Recurring right now. I don't know that I have a super recurring that kind of parallels one that seems that's like not outside of what I see in the long run. The one I see kind of the most, and especially from moms and dads and from leaders, is I so repeat myself. I say it over and over and
Mhm.
over. I was in a little bit of joy the other day. My one of my daughters is a therapist she works with middle school students, and she's like, "Mom, I have told this kid this concept that she's trying to get kid to understand over
Mhm.
and over and over and over, and I went, what must that be like?" And it's such an easy thing, and she recites it back to me, and then she goes and does this, and then just completely ignores me, and I'm just sitting there going, what
Hmm.
must that be like?
How
I
about
don't
that?
know. And I said, "I'll use one back on you," and she's like, "Oh, Lord," and just kinda shook her head. This was a few years ago. She was going to get her master's in counseling, and she wanted to go to away to school. We live in Huntington. She went to Marshall for her undergrad. And she's like, for my master's, I'm going to go to another school in another state that she'd wanted to go to for a very long time. And she gets there, and we knew what the requirements were to finish her counseling
Mhm.
degree and then all of the clinical hours that had to go with it. And this is going to be like a 5-year run of all of the stuff that has to
Mhm.
get done. And I mean, I had sat in meetings. I went to like orientation and toured campus and helped ask questions and met professors in the department. It's a master's program, so there's not thousands of students. You get to meet
Mhm.
your professors and know them pretty well in
Yep.
a master's program. And she's the first day of class and she calls hysterical. And I'm looking, I'm like, your class didn't start 20 minutes ago. How are you hysterical? She says, I mean, she was just up there and she was talking 5 years, Mom. It's going to take 5 years.
Really?
Yeah. I said, "Babe, you've told me that it's gonna take 5 years 150 times. I've heard you say it 150 times. I've heard your undergraduate
Mhm.
professors, because one of her professors lives across the street, so, like, Bethany would explain to me
Right.
how undergrad worked and
Right.
how masters worked, and, we were going through all of it, and it's like, "So, yeah, I've heard this." And she
Mhm.
says, it was in that moment, in that seat, in
Yep.
that her saying it in that moment that I fully
It got
processed
real. Yeah.
5 years of my life, and I can't do 5 years of my life
Oh
like
my
this.
gosh.
And is just so upset, and it was such a parallel to that over and over and over again.
Right.
There's a reason we have to say it over and over and over again,
Mhm.
because they aren't ready to hear it yet.
Mhm.
And that goes with our kids, it goes with our spouses, it goes with our friends, it goes with anybody
Mhm.
around us, and it goes with us too.
Yep.
Like, other people are just as frustrated, they've told us the same thing 15 times.
Mhm.
But until we're ready to hear it, even if we've heard
Yes.
it 100 times, it didn't
Yes.
fully get in there
Yep.
until that 101st, slightly different room, different chair, different voice,
Mhm.
different, um, attitude for her going into it, different. All of those things were different, which is what made that time the one
Mhm. Yes.
that sunk in there that finally.
Yes, I that is so true in all aspects of life. Any recommendations on when you are frustrated because you've now said the same thing 100 times and you're not getting anywhere? How do like, what's your best
I
go-to
mean,
on how
that's
do we get
where
through
just
that?
your calm patience comes in. I know,
Mhm,
and I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing out.
mhm.
I know we've gone over this.
Yep.
So what I often do is, why don't you tell me or show me if it's a task
Mhm,
or if it's a whatever, why don't you tell me the process or how you got to
mhm,
here, where the and you explain to me what you know, and when you get to where I realize there's the problem, like,
mhm.
where did I lose you in the thing
Yes.
of the line?
Yep.
And that way you're telling me and I'm hearing it back. And then
Mhm.
when they finish, I mean, like my other son did this the other day. He was talking about an accounting test that he took at school, and he's explaining the whole accrual accounting, and he's explaining it to me. And I went, uh huh. And he goes, I don't know why I couldn't write it down for the test. I went, I don't know either. The whole thing of it. 100% right. That is completely right. And then he laughed.
Yep.
He's like, "You went to journalism school." And I went, "Yes, but I run businesses and know what an accrual accounting method
Exactly.
is." And my mother's an
Yep.
accountant, which also helps.
Yep.
Um, those
But
2
I
things.
think you're that's like you did it 2 things though. One is you asked questions,
Mhm.
so they're now having to think through the answer and maybe looking at things from a different lens. But then also by communicating the strategy or the whatever it is that they're talking through, they're having to think about it from that lens too, and then maybe recognizing what they don't know or how to say it differently or how to
Yeah.
work through it differently. I think
Well,
those
and
2
then
things are really important.
such a high point in it is they as they walk through it, they're like, "And then I did this, and then this, and then that we would do, and then blah, blah, blah," and they're running through it, and they
Mhm.
go,
Oh, yeah.
and they just stop and go, "Never mind," and they walk off because
Yes.
they walked through that process.
Yes. Yep.
They realize the thing that they missed or the thing, that
Mhm.
step that was so
Mhm.
important, or, "Oh, that's where we take this thing over there you already showed." Oh,
There it
and they walk
is.
off.
Yep.
Or
Mhm.
they got all the way to the end like my son did that day, and I go, "Yep, that's 100% right." And they're, "So there wasn't anything wrong with it?" No,
No.
and
Not mm.
sometimes that's part of the problem too, it's just their own self-confidence, right? Like,
Yes.
it's
Yep.
not that there really wasn't they didn't understand, it was
Yep.
their own self-confidence, and
Yeah.
so, it solved the problem without me really solving the
Mhm.
problem, but then
Yeah.
I, of course, will say, "See how brilliant I am?" And then I walk away.
I'm a genius. But it
I'm
comes down to reflection, right? Like giving them the opportunity to reflect will do one of those things. It shows
Yeah,
them what they were missing or what they were
or
wrong
built them up.
or that they knew it all along and they just needed a little bit of confidence. I think that's really important. Awesome. All
Yeah.
right. We've here we I told you we would do this. Here we are 40 minutes. So tell us where number 1 where we can find you.
So I'm online, Coach Erin Tracy, Treacy for Tracy. It's a
Mhm.
very Irish of me. I guess technically it's very Irish of my husband, but I'm Scotch first too, so it's partly my problem. Aaron Tracy dot CoachErinTracy.com. It's also the
Mhm.
same for TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram to keep it easy everywhere. Coach
Fantastic.
Erin Tracy, and then it's also on LinkedIn. You can go to both the business page or my personal page, Erin Tracy, still spelled the same way. So I try to be a little bit of everywhere,
Mhm.
and that way people can find me, reach out,
Yeah.
connect wherever they may live.
Perfect. I love that. So I also will link all of those in the
Yes.
notes. And then any last minute things that you would like to share with us before we wrap this up?
I think, well, just to stay in the context
Mhm.
of, what we learn in one place is going to be good for the other, and showing up for people, any of our
Mhm.
people, is a great first step to wherever you want to go in your leadership, personal,
Mhm.
professional. Showing up's the key.
Yeah, I agree with that. And listening, right? Like I think
Mhm.
that so many people are so busy trying to tell us what to do that they forget to listen to what's actually happening. Thank you so much for joining us. So here's what I want you to sit with from this conversation. Where in your life are you doing too much? Where are you stepping in too quickly? carrying responsibility that was never yours to hold. Because leadership, whether that is at home or at work, is not about controlling the outcome. It's about creating space for growth. And that requires trust. It requires patience. And honestly, it requires you to be willing to get uncomfortable. You are not broken. You are disconnected. And the way back is learning to know yourself, trust yourself, align your life, and lead with real power. If this resonated with you, I am going deeper on this work in Substack. This is where I will share more reflections and tools and real life applications each week. You can find the link in the show notes. And if you know someone who needs this, send it to them. Until next time, I love you.